My name is Michael Rinaldi, and I am the petitioning candidate for the Simsbury Board of Education. First, I would like to thank Simsbury Community Television for this opportunity to explain my candidacy for the Board of Education. As a petitioning candidate for the Simsbury Board of Education, I'd like to introduce myself to those who don't know me already. I am a 37-year resident of Simsbury. My wife Connie and I are proud supporters of our exceptional school system. Our two children, Michael and Sue, attended Terrifield School. My educational background: I graduated from Fairfield University with a Bachelor of Science degree and St. Louis University with a medical degree. And I had a residency in internal medicine and a fellowship in cardiology at Harvard University. Professionally, I have practiced non-invasive, invasive, and interventional cardiology for 40 years, serving as president of our interventional and invasive cardiology group based at Hartford Hospital, and also was an assistant professor at the University of Connecticut Medical School, John Dempsey Hospital, retiring in 2012. As a resident of Simsbury, I believe the president and past members of the Board of Education have done an excellent job of producing and maintaining a school system that has a sterling reputation, one that our community is extremely proud of, and that stands as a hallmark of our town. Simsbury residents take pride in our educational system and support the board's annual budgets at referendum by an average 3-to-1 favorable margin. Our system provides a quality public school education, and it ranks among the top school systems in scholastic achievement. So why am I here to advance my candidacy for the Board of Education that is already a quality educational system? I'm here to discuss 3 issues that I believe will promote an even better outcome. They are choice, change, and transparency. In the matter of choice, before I moved to Simsbury, our town fathers felt that the Board of Education should be an advocate of a school system that would be apolitical. This meant that a board consisting of 8 members, 4 would be from each of the 2 major political parties. Therefore, there would be no minority representation. On election day every 2 years, 4 seats on the Board of Education must be filled, and each party nominates 2. You are asked to vote for any 2 candidates, but all 4 candidates are elected in what is an apparent popularity contest. My candidacy will truly give the voters a choice. When you go to the polls on November 5th, there will be 5 candidates. You will still have a choice of any 2, but only 4 will be elected. The apolitical system, which seemed to work well when both political parties produced a board that was not only producing a quality system, but also maintained a cost-effective structure. However, over the past 10 years, with a decreasing enrollment approaching 1,000 fewer students, and with budgets that consistently exceeded the rate of inflation, our per pupil costs have exceeded more than twice the rate of inflation, particularly in the past 6 years when the town's taxpayers had to survive one of the worst recessional periods of our generation. If elected, I will be only one member of an 8-member board. Obviously, I will not be able to affect much change unless I can persuade my fellow members of a more cost-effective way to maintain or improve an already exceptional system, a system that has to be effectively downsized, especially in the light of further decreases in enrollment. Change. Policies and programs that were instituted during the last superintendent of schools' tenure were not always cost-effective. At the beginning of the recent recession, the former superintendent instituted policies and programs to prevent downsizing the system, thereby protecting teaching and administrative positions. Many of her policies and programs were instituted through state grants that subverted the budgetary process and bypassed the Board of Finance. Two of these programs were all-day kindergarten and the added 8th period at the high school. I'm for all-day kindergarten. Although there is no evidence that it leads to increased scholastic achievement, my grandson loved all-day kindergarten for the extra time to interact with his classmates, and my daughter-in-law loved all-day kindergarten for the added support for her busy schedule. To institute this program, an additional $750,000 was needed, but it was instituted without the approval of the Board of Finance because a state grant was obtained which would supply the $600,000 new dollars of necessary funding. The grant provided an additional $3,000 per student for the present 100 project concerned students, giving an additional $300,000. And the addition of another 50 students from Project Concern at $6,000 added another $300,000, given a total of $600,000 new dollars. However, the program instituted with the grant actually cost the taxpayers more than if we provided the program through the usual budgetary process. Since the difference for the additional 50 students from Project Concern at $13,500 exceeded the grant by $75,000 and undoubtedly will further increase costs because the grant dollars are fixed, while the per pupil costs will obviously increase. The goal of this and other programs was to protect faculty and administrative positions during a period of marked decreases in enrollment that are averaging more than 2% per year. Another such program was the institution of the 8th period at the high school, which is also undergoing declining enrollment, adding an 8th period without extending the school day hours. This change required an increase in the number of teaching positions, since the present teacher contract calls for teaching 5 out of 7 regular class periods. Now the present staff would teach 5 out of 8 shortened periods. Also, part of the 8th period project was to increase elective choices combined with increases in study hall. In fact, less instructional time per day. This program, which was instituted with a 1-year $350,000 grant, will cost more than $3.5 million over the next 10 years. Hardly a cost-effective way to add an 8th additional period. And then there are the placebo or good feeling programs. The most dramatic increases in enrollment are in the primary grades, kindergarten to 4th grade. To avoid decreasing staffing levels, a program was instituted to bolster reading proficiency at the 3rd grade level. While reading proficiency did improve with this program, there's absolutely no evidence that it wouldn't have improved without the program, since we know that reading proficiency almost always improves by later grades. That is readily apparent in looking at Simsbury proficiency scores. This is what I call the placebo effect. Giving a prescription or intervention when you know that in spite of the intervention, a favorable outcome will be achieved. And now, A fourth grade reading program is projected, again to protect faculty positions during declining enrollment. Remember, with yearly budgets exceeding the rate of inflation and with declining enrollments exceeding 2% a year, a decline of nearly 1,000 students or 17%, and per pupil costs exceeding $13,500, that is a cumulative cost of over $13.5 million. The Board of Education, through its own study on enrollment, has known for the past decade that projected enrollment would be around 3,800 students in the coming years, and has done very little to effectively downsize the system without affecting its quality and thereby saving millions of taxpayer dollars. Transparency. The Board of Education has consistently stated that its budgets are cost effective. In its school publication, The Communicator, that is sent out to Simsbury residents, and during budget town meetings, the board always produces data to substantiate their budgets. In the past budget cycle, they produced a graph showing budgetary increases less than 2% a year, which is the lowest of any period in the past 25 years. While that data is correct, they failed to communicate that during this time, we averaged a more than 2% a year decline in enrollment, combined with a yearly inflationary rate of less than 1.5%. During the present year, the school budget was increased by 1.9%, with a decreased enrollment of 171 students, or 3.8%, and with an occurring inflationary rate of 1.5%. Imagine telling your stockholders over the past 9 years that your material costs have exceeded only slightly above the rate of inflation while producing 17% less product. I doubt that you would have a job much longer. If elected, I will advocate for our students and for our taxpayers to maintain and improve our system in a cost-effective manner. Every proposed program will have to be one whose primary objective is to improve student achievement, not to protect faculty and administrative positions, in a school system that has one of the highest administrative per pupil ratios in our DRG. One of my first suggestions is to promote the second assistant superintendent of schools to a position of superintendent in another school system. Simsbury, we are proud of our school system. Every elected official running for town office always declares support for our school system. It's what makes Simsbury, Simsbury. But people move here for the educational opportunity for their children. Where is it written that we cannot do it in a more cost-efficient, cost-effective way? The two people most responsible for the Board of Education budgetary process are the chairman of the Board of Finance, who has continually set budget guidelines at more than the rate of inflation at a time of dramatic declining enrollment, and the chairman of the Board of Education, who has proven unwilling to require the school administration to downsize its system. I pledge to give our taxpayers and voters a choice on November 5th for the first time in years, and if elected, to work to ensure that your tax dollars are used effectively and economically to maintain a school system to be proud of. So please vote on November 5th for the candidate of your choice. It is your obligation and duty. And thank you for your attention.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.